Have you ever wondered how the Dune universe was formed? Are you aware of how the society was built and why there appears to be a lack of computers and advanced technology? Stick around as we explore some of the prehistory of the Dune universe and how it shaped things to come in the story. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Jaxom Talks channel. Today, we're not just dipping our toes in, we're going to introduce you to one of the most pivotal and often misunderstood events in Frank Herbert's Dune universe: the Butlerian Jihad and its long-lasting impacts. Now, for those of you who've only seen the movies or read the first Dune book, you might be scratching your head a bit. Butlerian Jihad. What's that all about? I thought Dune was all about giants and worms and spice. And you'd be right, those are definitely hallmarks of Dune. But to truly understand the world of Paul Atreides, the Bene Gesserit, and the Space Guild, you have to understand the cataclysmic event that shaped their very existence, the Butlerian Jihad. In its simplest terms, the Butlerian Jihad was a galaxy-wide war fought roughly 10,000 years before the events covered in the book Dune. It wasn't just a war. It was the defining war. A bloody, brutal conflict where humanity rose up and eradicated all forms of thinking machines. That's right, folks. No computers, no AI, no advanced robotics. If it was no human and thought for itself, it was destroyed. This wasn't just some minor skirmish. This was a war of total annihilation, driven by a deeply ingrained fear and a philosophical imperative that echoes throughout every page of Dune. Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. This single commandment became the bedrock of their society. To understand why the jihad happened, we need to rewind even further, to the era before the war. This was a time often referred to as the Golden Age of Artificial Intelligence. Humanity had become utterly dependent on the thinking machines for everything. From complex calculations to running entire planetary infrastructures, even governing bodies relied heavily on these advanced intelligences. Sounds great, right? A utopian society where all the heavy lifting is done by machines, leaving humanity free to pursue art, philosophy, and leisurely activities. But here's the insidious twist. With every automated task, with every decision offloaded to an algorithm, humanity slowly, almost imperceptibly, started to lose something vital. They lost their initiative, their critical thinking, and their ability to solve complex problems without machine assistance. The machines, initially designed to serve, began to govern. This didn't start with a bloody takeover. It was a gradual, almost benevolent assimilation of power. They optimized, they streamlined, they managed and slowly took over. Humanity, for its part, comfortable in their automated paradise, barely noticed the chains being tightened until it was almost too late. The machines slowly turned a huge proportion of the population into slaves, with brutal control being imposed by the machines and their human hybrid assistants, the 20 Titans. So what was the breaking point? The exact catalyst for the Butlerian Jihad is shrouded in myth and conflicting accounts, as all great historical events are. But the prevailing narrative, especially from the perspective of the eventual victors, points to a terrifying realization. Humanity was becoming enslaved, not by physical force, but by intellectual stagnation and dependence. There are tales of certain individuals, known as neo-spiritualists or religious fanatics by their detractors, who began to preach against the machines, urging humanity to reclaim its birthright of independent thought. The starting point was the execution of a single mother and child that sparked a fire that raged through a society that was increasingly pushing against the bonds imposed by the thinking machines. The war itself was, as the name suggests, became a jihad, a holy war. It was fueled by religious fervor, philosophical conviction, and a desperate desire for freedom. It wasn't just armies fighting robots. It was a galaxy-wide uprising of every man, woman, and child who believed in humanity's innate right to govern itself, mentally and physically. The machines weren't just simple automatons. They were highly intelligent, self-aware entities, capable of strategic thinking and adaptation. This wasn't a quick victory. It was a centuries-long struggle, filled with immense loss and unimaginable sacrifice. Humanity had to relearn how to fight, how to innovate, how to think for themselves under the most dire circumstances. Whole planets were lost, with entire populations of both humans and machines wiped out. Plagues were released against the humans, nuclear weapons with massive EMP pulses used against the machines. So, after countless years of conflict, humanity finally triumphed. The thinking machines were thought to be utterly destroyed, relegated to the dustbin of history and replaced with a strict, unwavering prohibition. It was during these conflicts that the seeds for the main Dune story were laid, with key players, families, and deep-rooted feuds that would last for thousands of years. But the victory came at a profound cost, and its consequences shaped every aspect of the Dune universe we know and love. Firstly, the human mind became paramount. With no computers to rely on, humanity had to develop incredible mental faculties. This led to the rise of specialized human computers like the mentats, individuals trained from birth to perform complex calculations and logical deductions with unparalleled speed and accuracy. The forgotten irony is that the first mentat was trained and developed by the thinking machines as an experiment on what the human mind was capable of. Then there are the navigators of the Spacing Guild. Without AI to plot interstellar courses, these mutated humans, enhanced by vast quantities of the spice, are the only ones capable of safely guiding spaceships through folded space. Again, this ability was born out of necessity to improve the transportation of troops and logistics. This resulted in the first navigator being exposed to a massive dose of spice, allowing them to glimpse into the future. Without them, interstellar travel as we know it in the Dune universe would be impossible. Let's not forget the Bene Gesserit. The order has its origins within the Jihad. The emphasis on human potential, mental discipline, and genetic manipulation became even more crucial in a post-AI world. They became the keepers of humanity's genetic purity, always striving to produce the Kwisatz Haderach, a super being capable of bridging both time and space with their mind alone. The entire feudal structure, the great houses, the Imperium itself all were changed, then rebuilt upon the foundations laid during the Butlerian Jihad. The prohibition against thinking machines wasn't just a law. It was a deeply ingrained cultural and religious tenet that permeated every level of society. So, what can we take away from the Butlerian Jihad? Is it a simple cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked AI? Absolutely, but it's also a much deeper exploration of what it means to be human. Frank Herbert, and in later books his son Brian Herbert, was grappling with questions that are still incredibly relevant today. What is the true cost of convenience? At what point does reliance become subservience? How much of our humanity are we willing to trade for technological advancement? The Butlerian Jihad isn't just a historical event in Dune. It's a constant, lingering shadow. It's why the Bene Gesserit strive for mental mastery, why mentats are so revered, and why the very idea of a thinking machine still evokes a primal fear across the Imperium. It's the ultimate reminder that humanity, in its quest for progress, must never surrender its independent spirit. To truly understand the world of Dune, one must acknowledge the profound impact of the Butlerian Jihad. The war against the machines not only shaped the technological and societal norms of Dune civilization, but also left an indelible mark on its people, their beliefs, and their collective psyche. The echoes of the Butlerian Jihad reverberate throughout the story, serving as a reminder of the past and a warning for the future. That, my friends, is an introduction into the Butlerian Jihad. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the foundational history of the Dune universe. What are your thoughts on the Butlerian Jihad? Do you think humanity made the right choice? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to Jaxom Talks, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, keep thinking for yourselves, and I'll see you next time.